All right, all right, all right. Oh, all right, all right, all right. Hey, what's it take character-wise after buzzers to build a business that really rocks? Find out next.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I can't.
I don't know. It's like a walk like an Egyptian.
I remember like this. Yeah, I do. Walk like an Egyptian.
That's dating it a little bit more, but that's all right.
Oh, you just made me think of, what's her name?
Madonna.
No, Susana Monaco from the Bangles. Walk like an Egyptian. Oh my gosh. Way before most of our time, but I was a big fan. And here tonight we have a song that is very apropos to start here. That's a little French, just in case you were wondering. Very apropos, because tonight we're all about fashion.
Fashion episode.
You know what, though? I had no idea that this was the finale of the season for The Profit.
The finale of season 4. Where did the season go? Where did the year go? How is it December tomorrow?
What happened? Is it December tomorrow?
Yes. No, December on Thursday, but it's coming up.
Okay, yeah, see, we couldn't tell you it was the finale. We can't tell you when December is, but that's all right. We're glad you're here, After Buzzers, and we have a great show for you here this evening because we have great material to work with. This was an absolutely outstanding episode, don't you think?
Great episode.
I'm sorry, I had a little gas. It was so good. I burped there on air. I'd say we can cut it out, but we can't. But we can't
because we're live.
Right, so you got to live with it.
That just shows your level of excitement.
Just own
emanating out
excitement
of you.
that's emanating outward.
Right.
It was, and I burped if you're wondering. But it's the excitement that's emanating, but it's also just the humanity. I'm obviously human. I'm not.
You are. Who are you, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that looks at me here on camera and thinks, well, that guy is so special. No, I'm not.
He's just a regular Joe.
I'm just a regular Joe.
Except his name is Chris.
Yes, except his name is Chris, right? With a mustache tonight, too.
I know,
which is
I
just
see
weird.
that. I'm liking it.
Yeah, I wanted to be fashionable.
It's looking a little bit, what's his name? From back in the 80s.
Oh, great. This sounds good.
I'm going to think about it.
Madonna's from back in the 80s,
right,
too.
No, but Madonna doesn't have a mustache.
Who was back in the 80s? This is a global.
It starts with an S.
Sean Connery?
No. I'm going to have to think about
That's
this.
the only S I can come up with.
All right, if you folks are watching, to hit us up. But which
Superman,
80s guy does Chris look like? Hit us up here on
okay,
YouTube.
Please do. Hit us up on YouTube. Just chat it in
comment.
there and let us know. And we always start with a little bit of global gab, but
Yes.
not to get straight to the point. But share with us a little.
What's been happening in the globe? Oh, devastating news today. I don't know if you saw, but the terrible plane crash. That happened in the Andes Mountains. A plane crashed in Medellin, Colombia.
With like a whole soccer team,
carrying an entire soccer team of travelers from Brazil. 75 people dead.
That's
5
sad.
people survived, but it was 20 journalists, the entire team, coaches, family members, and this team, this Brazilian soccer team, was celebrating because they were sort of the coming up from behind team, and they were going into the quarterfinals of the South American Soccer Championships.
Wow.
And the plane never made it. It crashed today. So terrible news on that. Apologies and prayers going out to those families.
But we can pray for.
Yeah, you know that one. I didn't want to talk about global stuff without mentioning that today.
Well, how do you?
The thing is, it's really tragic because this is when you say soccer players, you're talking 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids.
Right.
Just really terrible. So.
Yeah, that is terrible. And once again, it reminds us how short life can be. And we've got to take it by the horns and make things happen now. And if you're launching a business, launching your dreams, because essentially for me, I've always looked at your business infrastructure as the scaffolding underneath your dreams. If that's what you're building, build it now. Don't wait. Yeah. Make it count.
And I think this testament of today's show and the fashion element and the designer of the fashion label is exactly that. She's taken life by the horns again.
Rice.
Rice and beans.
Rice-a-roni. Yeah, she's taken life by the horns and she's designing her life, this designer here, right? She's so powerful in this episode. Oh God, just stop it.
Chris is on fire tonight. I think it's that mustache.
I think it's a mustache. It turned me weird, right? But this was a fantastic episode of The Profit. Where it's very unfortunately the season finale. So we're looking forward to more episodes that are going to be coming up here. Marcus earns his keep here tonight. He did some serious work, and I have to say something, Marcus. You took a major, now here, I put a mustache on and I look like a fool, but you took a major fashion upgrade in this episode, don't you think?
He was looking very fly.
You were looking
very
fly
in this episode, Marcus. I'm not sure if you we're listening to some of my fashion advice over the course of this season, but you brought it tonight.
I think so.
He looked good.
I think he's a secret fan. And Katerina Cozias earlier in the season said, how are you talking fashion and you're not dressed? And I'm looking at this guy to the nines. He's got the belt that looks hot.
And the burgundy and the blue coat.
My God.
You look good, Marcus.
You
I
look
liked
good.
it. You brought it for the fashion show.
If I was a woman, I might even reach out to you and say, tweet me. But I'm not. You can tweet her, and she's single.
Tweet me at Katerina Cozias.
There you go.
There you go. And I don't have a mustache.
And
so.
she doesn't have a mustache unless you really like them. Then she's willing to go there. But in any case, we have Susana Monaco here, and it's her fashion line. She's created this fashion line, very artistic type. What did you think about Susana Monaco in terms of your kind of the cliche or the stereotyped idea of an artist?
Right. Okay. So the Susana Monaco label, I personally wasn't familiar with.
I wasn't familiar either.
No.
Yeah.
She does sell in the larger department stores, Bloomingdale's, Saks, Nordstrom, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So I'm sure the next time I go, now that I recognize the brand, I'll look into it. But it's really funny because you see this brand with these chic clothes and these tall, long cuts.
That's true. Huh?
And then you see the designer herself, who is really this sort of bohemian, crazy artist type. She looks like she's about 5'2", and nothing like the clothing she designs. At least that's not the type of woman you imagine when you look at her. But it's very similar to Muccia Prada, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, as she was, as she progressed through the episode, and we'll get to it, but she was owning her own fashion sense more and more and more. She made herself up, and I think that would be a great next step for her, by the way, to really own that fashion sense. When you think of Gianni Versace, and when you think of some of these designers,
Tom Ford,
that have shown up traditionally at the fashion shows like we saw
Galliano,
here,
and that are just decked out in that
fashion
fashion world.
You got to look the part, right? Right?
Yeah, Susana, no offense, Susana, but at the beginning of the show, you looked like you worked at the grocery store.
A little frumpy.
A little bit frumpy.
Yeah, but she started dressing up, and I think she could go even more in that direction. And so she had kind of closed off to the world. She'd become the artist that was, doing her work behind closed doors. And we'll see why that happens as we progress here. But it was really interesting. She did look a bit like the sad and tortured artist, didn't she?
And that part of it was because her business was failing.
That'll make you sad.
That'll make it sad. That'll make you depressed. There was a lot of infighting. There was a lot of stress. And so the joy that had originally sparked her creativity and created the success in her company went away. Yep. And when that goes away, then you just got to get up and go to a job that you don't like anymore.
I get that totally.
Looked very evident.
Yeah, when the passion dies and it's just not there for one reason or another. It could happen for many different reasons.
Sure.
But it's kind of like where they say that where there's no vision, the people perish. It's the vision and the passion and the drive. But I think she was really, really lost when this episode started. Yeah.
Now,
I think she was lucky as hell that Marcus came in.
Now, Marcus has a fashion component to his conglomerate of businesses. What do you think attracted him to Susana Monaco, the brand?
Her designs were spectacular.
They were.
We saw that in the show.
They were clean. They were monochromatic, but really elegant. They reminded me of a cross between stuff that Victoria Beckham's been doing recently. Just lean and chic.
Kind of simple, but classic and beautiful.
Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Like a higher end. It's not, but you see sometimes they don't have to be high end to really, really look nice. You see some of those catalogs that women order from and stuff, Yeah, beautiful.
They're just basic pieces, but the way
Yeah.
they're cut, the fabrics that are used, the way they hang.
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, the way they hang, gorgeous, gorgeous designs that she has, and they said they're clean, contemporary, and something. And what really interested Marcus most was that he had said they were timeless, really, something that was going to be out there for a long time. And we got to see it at the end. We got that reveal at the end.
We got a big fashion show at the end with her new line. That was great.
Beautiful.
I enjoyed that part.
Beautiful. We'll get back to that in a second. We, you know, this business traditionally had turned over $10 million. The year was their best year was $13
Best
million.
grossing season, $13 million. So, I mean, this woman built up a business. Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, for real, serious. And the thing is that she grew up in the garment industry. She grew up in the factory with her parents.
Her Italian parents
Were they
had
Italian?
a
Is that-
manufacturing facility, clothing, textile factory in New York. They had come over in the 50s and built up a fashion business. And she, as a young girl, was in the business working the factory shop
Lived
floor.
it, worked it.
And delved into the fact that she had a little creativity on the design side, and so
Launched her own
started
thing.
to launch her own product. But that is where part
That's where
of
the problem
the
is.
kink
yeah.
came into the picture.
Well, there was a couple of kinks, and we get to the family kink. What do you think about the kink with Anna? So Marcus walks in. Anna is her vice president of operations, I guess they called her, and sales. And what did you think about Anna?
So Anna was, you know, the VP of operations,
Yeah.
supposedly subordinate to the owner of the company, who is
Supposedly.
Susana.
Right.
This Anna woman was walking all over her.
Right.
And all over the business in terms of becoming the boss.
Yeah.
She even, over the course of the 11 years that she worked with Susana Monaco, managed to somehow convince Susana to pay her, Anna,
Right.
double the salary that Susana herself was making.
Right. So Anna's getting 175 grand a year.
Right.
Right. And she's also convinced Susana that she should have 50% of the company. So
And
it's like
Susana was toying with giving this woman 50% of her company.
toying and torn up about it. And you know what? And the sad part is that if Marcus didn't come in to, and I really think that Marcus saved the day. Marcus didn't just come in and do, you know, a good deal where everybody can make some money. Marcus saved this woman.
Save Susana.
Yeah, she's in a burning building. He ran in, he grabbed her and pulled her out. That's, I mean, really, this was a heroic effort on Marcus's part. And I think it's mostly because of the crappy position that she had herself in
Within her own company.
Within her own company.
Yeah.
So Anna is, you know, insubordinate across the chart.
And incredibly disrespectful to Susana herself.
Right.
Every time
Claiming
Susana,
that people were disrespecting her, but yeah,
Right,
but
yeah.
she's walking all over Susana.
every time Susana had a comment, had an idea, wanted to do something, Anna would just whack her down as though she was the mom
Right.
somehow. And you're thinking, what? The other one's the owner of the company. What the heck's going on
It was
here?
so horribly dysfunctional.
Right.
And you know what? I can relate to that. I didn't think of this when I was out there, but I think of it now that my CFO and my company was exactly like that with me.
yeah.
Exactly, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was an investor and a CFO. He the same exact way. He went, no, you can't. That's never gonna. No, that you shouldn't be there. And it's like, so I get it, and I think maybe that was part of it because I empathized with her. As she was getting walked all over, because
Now,
Susana was really getting walked all over.
Does one allow that because you think that these are your trusted advisors, so you put yourself in a position to want to listen to them?
I think it's, you know, for me, like it really looked like she was very, they call it enmeshed these days in psychology rather than codependent, but you know, really kind of codependent. She was not fully functional as a human being, and she was pulling these people in that were willing to leech off of her. And it really was leeching because she was the perfect victim for leeching.
Now, speaking of leeching, we had Anna within her company leeching corporately.
Right,
But then we
and
had
there you
the
go.
family element, which was, in addition to her dad, who ran the manufacturing business, she has two brothers. Somehow, the family was trying to tell her
They were convinced.
that she should just give away a third of her company to each of her brothers.
Right.
Because they were somehow entitled to it.
Yes.
Just because they were the guys. They were the boys. They were entitled
And
to
I think it was the father's stance, but thank God Marcus had the father on this side. Was the father's name Mario, I think, or
Yes.
Marco?
I'm not
One of the two,
sure.
right?
Sorry.
It's okay. He doesn't own it.
Okay.
No, just kidding. But yeah, he had convinced. He said, "This is the deal. Your brothers should each get a third of this business. Why? Because they're the boys, and they're in the family. And now they were running the manufacturing, which she paid them salaries for, and she paid all their employees, and she paid the rent for the manufacturing. They were employees. Why should they have a portion of the business?
Take a third of her business. So she was going to give 2/3 of what she herself alone built
This was her business, right?
to these guys and continue to pay to rent out the facility that was owned by them. It was just crazy.
And Anna was bulldogging her for 50% of the
and Anna
business.
was on the other side taking all the cash.
What's left?
Nothing. And this is why you saw this poor
Yeah.
woman as a shell of what she probably was like 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And everybody's grabbing of it. Everybody wants a piece of it. And the poor Susana is just caving.
Yes.
She's caving into all of this. So I really did empathize with her. And you know, the issue is, like Marcus called it, it's an issue of backbone. It's the willingness to stand up, call it the way it is, and level with people,
Right.
and say, no, you're not going to get that. But what drives that? I mean, fear drives that. The fear of what happens if Anna leaves.
Right.
What happens if to my family relationships if. You know, so
If
there's all
I
this.
don't give up my business, yeah.
Right, it's all this what if thinking, and the godsend was Marcus coming in because now she doesn't have to be the bad guy, but she can stand up at the same time and say, hey, I've got a business partner. This is the way it's got to be. Now she could have done that before if she thought. She could have said, you know what? I got people that are dependent upon me. I've got employees that are dependent on me, and the answer is no. You don't have to explain yourself to people to say no anyway, but I do empathize because I've been in
That's
situations
not always,
like that.
I was going to say, that's not always easy for everyone.
It's
to
not.
do, clearly.
But it has to be if you want to own a business and not get eaten alive. And unfortunately, there's everybody wants to eat you alive. The more successful you become, everybody wants your shit.
And that's why at the end of the day, whoever is involved with any aspect of the Profit and the show and Marcus Lemonis and his team, I feel is incredibly lucky because not only are you getting the financial support and the immense resources that come with that team, but you're getting the good, genuine human element that Marcus brings to the table.
I think the human element was everything. I mean, he put in $600,000 to pay the bills. Okay, I mean that was the deal that he gave, $600,000 for 50%, which was good. And he was absolutely right that you got to solve one problem at a time. So we'll deal with Anna afterwards. We'll deal with the brothers afterwards.
Right.
Once he has 50%,
Sure.
now it's a totally different story. Now they're dealing with different ownership. So, But to Marcus's credit in this episode, I felt like the whole episode, from my perspective, was about him helping her to work her way through her character defects and her personality defects that were allowing people.
help to build her up again in terms of self-esteem.
Yeah.
And confidence.
And the ability to take ownership for the brand and to be that person. So it's all about beingness. Who's she being in relationship to Anna? Who's she being in relationship to her brothers?
And you know, one of the things I think that that became evident is part of the reason Anna lost some of her fire was because she was being stifled creatively. She would want to go buy a certain fabric, and she would be told by Anna, again, the VP of Operations, that, oh no, that's too expensive, we can't afford that, that's too high of a unit cost. And so really over time, Susana's ability to create the vision and bring to the table what she was seeing was, you know,
Kinda
she was just
disappeared, yeah.
handcuffed.
Yeah. No,
And then you'd start to lose your motivation to do it.
But like Marcus said, he said, I can't really fault her for watching the bottom line. That is her job.
That was Anna's job.
That's
Okay, yeah.
Anna's job.
Fair enough.
However,
Yeah.
what she wasn't aligned in is the intention of delivering this quality product to the marketplace. So there's that, and those are kind of natural problems. I mean, I know you've been in the corporate environment for a long time. They're kind of natural conflicts that can occur between manufacturing and somebody who has their eye on the numbers.
Right, yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, that happens all the time. There are those natural conflicts, but to be able to pull it into alignment and move it forward is important. But then you have to have leadership.
Right.
And Anna, we had mutiny. We had the crew leading the captain in this. Crazy, man.
Crazy. Yeah.
So he did go through. Marcus did go through the traditional things that he goes through in an episode. The collection. Let's talk about the collection. That's over to you.
The,
too.
colle-
When I
the
said that it was
collection.
kind of a toss,
I was like, looking around.
surprised
What
you with
is-
that?
That's okay.
It's called a toss.
I'm catching it. I got it. All right, football's mine. The collection. I have no idea what you're talking about.
The collection. Oh, the clothing, honey.
Right. See, my mind. Okay, thank you. The clothing collection. My mind went to some sort of like, did I miss some payables?
Did I miss it? What the hell is it?
collecting?
What the collection? What is that?
Oh, okay, so
Yeah, no, the
Marcus
clothing
comes in.
collection,
Fair
yeah.
enough. Marcus says to her, "May I see your designs?" And she says, "Well, there's thousands of them, thousands of pieces I've designed and cut and sold." And he said to them, "Okay, your task is to sift through all of those many years of thousands of designs. Pick 100 pieces, your top 100 pieces. Of those 100 pieces, I want you to pick 30, and those are going to be your staple pieces."
Staple pieces in the collection. Yeah. Are you surprised that he got it to 100? Wouldn't you think it would be less, or what did you think?
No, because you know what? I think at the end of the day, staples are staples. A blouse can only be cut a certain way.
Right.
A skirt can only be cut a certain way. I don't think you need hundreds of thousands of variations.
But
I think once you get your core variation, and then you can play with the fabrics, the length, the size. So I wasn't surprised. I was surprised that he cut it down to 30 from 100.
Oh, were you?
But I wasn't surprised that he wanted to narrow it down to 100 to start. Yeah.
What about so he asked for 100 and they showed up with 70.
Right.
But let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. You know what? I think I'm not surprised by that because 70 was probably the best representation of what they
But remember,
had.
Anna wasn't talking to her, was what they said.
Well, this is the problem, is these two women were bickering. And it was primarily because Susana was starting to stand up to Anna. Anna didn't like this. Anna's never been stood up to by Susana. And so Anna decided to give her the silent treatment.
Well,
now we're talking 50-year-old women.
And I'm
they were,
surprised,
you know,
honestly, I'm surprised Marcus didn't let her go right then. Because it's almost like, you know what?
if you know,
This
yeah.
is your opportunity to show who you are.
And we're, you know, the thing you need in a business is communication.
Right.
And you can't have that if you're playing
Games,
a 12-year-old
right.
silent treatment back and forth. Come
Yeah.
on now. So anyway, they only had 70 pieces pulled because Anna was largely missing from that exercise.
Right, so Anna pulled out.
But
they-
Susana managed to handle it on her own.
They isolated. They got the collection down. They also went over to the production to the manufacturing site, and the brothers wouldn't come to meet with Marcus. So the ones that were expecting 2/3 of the business refused to come out.
I was surprised.
What'd you think about that? Were you?
I thought, yes, I was, because I thought, you know, here's a guy who's coming in to try and save your business, and you can't do him the courtesy of coming downstairs.
Yeah,
from
one of
the
them
factory
denied. One of them
office.
said he's not going to come down. He
Right,
refused to. The
right.
other one left.
The other one left, apparently. Now, in their defense, he was working with Susana Monaco's company at the time, not necessarily the manufacturing facility. But these are two guys that wanted in on that business.
Right.
So you think they would have shown up. And I'm curious to see if Marcus has since met with them.
Met with the brothers.
Yeah.
But I think they said at the end of the episode, they said that the relationship seems to be going a little bit smoother. Because in the beginning, they said that she wouldn't even go to the factory because the relationship was so bad, which is ridiculous. How do you run a business?
Everyone was bullying this poor Susana. Now, the interesting thing, you said something interesting while we were watching the episode, and you
What?
said, you know, at one point you were forecasting, you were predicting that Marcus might tell her to move away from that manufacturing facility and
Right.
manufacture somewhere else. And so I thought that was coming down the pipe as well. Why would you want
Yeah.
to deal with all that negativity and baggage?
Well,
But-
he was saying he didn't want to throw too many wrenches in the works.
Yeah, Marcus went in, and what he did realize is the process,
Yeah.
the processes in place were pretty good.
It was working.
And there was a consistency.
Right.
And there was, you know, and
The
so
margins
he thought,
sucked, but
that could be worked out. So he
could
thought, you know,
improve that.
there's so many other things we have to concentrate on.
yeah, I mean,
Let's
you can
leave what's
imagine
working,
if he got rid
working.
of, if he said Anna's a problem, let's fire her.
The manufacturing facility has to
doesn't work,
change.
let's change that.
The
That's
this
so
or
much
that.
changing at
Right.
once that it's like.
Yeah.
And truly, do you think Anna's going to make it?
I'm 50-50 on if Anna's going to make it. I don't
Yeah.
know that Anna is necessarily going to be able to change Anna.
Exactly. That's the issue.
You know, Susana said to her, I'd like to have you around, but I need your respect, and I need you to become subordinate to me, is basically what
Exactly.
Susana said. And Anna is going to have a tough time with that.
She's going to have a really tough time with
I'll be actually, if I had a prediction to make, it would be that Anna voluntarily decides to leave.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
At some point. If Susanna's able to keep her alpha role.
Keep her
once-
backbone up.
Yeah, once Marcus is not there as much. That's going to be, that's,
Which
and she
again,
has to.
this
She
is
has
but
to.
this is a dynamic between these women that's almost 12 years. I don't
Right.
know that that's necessarily going to change, or if when Marcus leaves, it's just going to revert back to the same old, same
And-
old.
But if it does, then you've got, it's just a cesspool. It's I mean, and this is why I say it's really a beingness episode. She's got to step into having that backbone. And the other thing she has to step into is owning her own power and having the willingness to go out there and be the brand, be the face. We'll talk to the people, greet the people, say, hey, check this out. This is my design. And to own it.
And they had a little exercise. They were liquidating some inventory.
Yeah,
And so
they
they
had
had a pop-up store.
540,000 to get rid of.
That they popped up. And Marcus had Susana stand outside of this little boutique
And that was so uncomfortable for her.
and greet people and invite them in to see her designs. And that was just so out of her element, because she's not the extrovert, outgoing salesperson. She's the behind-the-scenes artist in a back room.
And what was fascinating, though, was the direction that Marcus took it, because he could have gone either way. He could have gone the other way like Anna did. And Anna would say, yes, you're right. You shouldn't be with the people. Go be the hermit designer. That's what you need to do. I'll be out here. So Anna made herself the face of the brand, really. She was claiming that position. And Marcus is like, this is not going to work. You are the designer. You need to be the face of the brand.
He said to her flat out, "You are not the owner of this company." I
To
think
Anna,
he said
yeah.
it to her 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. And your behavior is unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I think he's the first person that may have ever put Anna in her place.
See, and that's part of what it takes to build a business and to build it right. And we've heard before that being liked is less important than being respected. And I think that oftentimes people that get walked all over have a high need to be liked as well. A high need to avoid conflict. But the avoidance of conflict winds up in big explosions further down
Later,
the line.
and undue stress.
Right, and now we look at what was happening with the business. The business was down from a profitability perspective by 50%, I think.
50%, and not only was it down 50%, but they were in a loss position cash flow wise.
They were losing. They lost about
There was
340,000 the year before.
There was no money coming in the door at all. They were simply filling orders, taking out debt to buy more inventory, to produce more inventory, to sell it, and there was no profitability left.
What was fascinating was that Marcus was able to sum up really quickly that because they said that the margins were about 40%, and I'm assuming that's gross margins, right? So they said that the margins were about 40%, and he said that's no way, because it's supposed to be like 70% in clothing, I
On
think.
clothing, yes.
Yeah, he said no less than 50, but I think they'd shoot for a 70.
You can do a lot better,
Yeah,
sure,
they'd like. Yeah, I could be mistaken, but I think it's about 70. And so the gross margins were horrible. And so he said, so that tells me that there's a problem somewhere in the process, in the inventory, getting rid of the old inventory, having...
And what part of the problem is that Susana, the designer herself, had lost focus. There was no collection, if you will. It was just random
diversified
designs. And so the brand itself, you didn't know, am I coming here for a feeling? Am I coming here for a look? Am I coming here for a certain cut? There was no sense of brand anymore.
Right. They lost that completely. And boy, did she capture it at the end, though.
Oh.
It was beautiful. I mean, we were both watching the show going...
At the end of the show, they had the fashion show with her top picks for new collection 2017. They threw a massive fashion show PR party. They had Allure magazine, Vogue there.
Yeah.
They had Glamour. They had Variety. I mean, all the big magazines and
They didn't
fashion
have us
houses.
There. Somehow we weren't invited.
Next time, Susana.
Lemonis.
But that by the end of the show and the way everything had turned around and the smile on Susana's face herself, I think this is going to be life-changing, and she's going to look back at her path in 40
this is
years
why I say that
go, this was a point.
Yeah, Marcus did something on the human side, and we see that a lot with him, but he saved her.
He did. He has.
He really did, because that's... this is... What a fascinating thing, how in the arena of business, you can work your own shit out. You know what I mean? It's like, it's because you're... I used to, I've been around for a while, but I've said that your business is a reflection of your consciousness. The people around you are a reflection of your consciousness. And if your consciousness is shit, your business is shit. Yeah. And so she was getting
and-
reflected back at her everything that had to do with her deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
And so as she builds those aspects of her personality back up, the
Then
backbone,
everything will
the
simultaneously
self-esteem,
reflect that.
Right. Then she
Yeah.
gets to, and then she has boundaries in these relationships, and the relationships are going to interact differently, and she's going to build something really powerful. Which is really cool. It was cool. What did you think about the father? Because he, even though he was saying you need to give a third and 2/3 to your brothers. He didn't. We didn't see a lot of that coming from him throughout the episode.
No, he ended up becoming very supportive of her, and you could see there was a genuine love there for him. This was still his daughter, and he was very proud of what she did. So it was nice to see him standing in the sidelines and being a support system to her.
I think for him, it took Marcus coming in and telling him the way it should be.
And recognizing that, wait a minute, why am I
Yeah.
asking this poor girl who's the only one that's sort of keeping us afloat right now?
Right.
To give it all away, and
Yeah.
I think he came to see his daughter Susana in a different light. I think.
Yeah, because he was
with a little bit more respect, the respect she deserved.
Yeah, he was coming from a model of tradition and the family and this and that, rather than really being a businessman. You know,
Right.
and she worked it, she earned it, she should keep it.
But again, like we said, Susana Monaco is the brand, and you can go now to any of these higher end department stores and find it. And you should go take a look at the clothes.
Highly recommended.
Yes.
Highly recommended. In fact, I'd love to get her on the show if we were doing any longer this show. But
It's
I
the
guess
season
the
finale
season's done.
tonight, but you never know. They may do a recap episode. Season 5 is coming up. We don't know when.
It's very exciting. I don't know what they did with
CNBC
the
hasn't told
partner.
us when
I don't know what
yet.
they did with the partner. We talked about that because we thought he was going to launch the partner.
The new series, The Partner, which was supposed to be running, I thought, this year.
Yeah, I thought he was looking for a partner to help him build.
Run all of these businesses that he's invested in.
It could have been just too much of a diversion of attention with everything else that he's got going on.
And you never know what other businesses he's involved in right now. And,
Yeah, well, I mean, shoot, even with the businesses that he's picked up since the beginning seasons, that's a lot to have in a portfolio to be managing all of that.
I don't know. Just to deviate for just a moment, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you saw who the new Celebrity Apprentice
Arnold
lead
Schwarzenegger.
host is.
Get down, it's radioactive.
So
Yeah.
it's really funny to me because he and Donald Trump have reversed roles. So one has gone from politics back into acting and television, and the other one has gone from television into politics
That's
now.
kinda
So
funny.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, the new Celebrity Apprentice. I wonder if he's going to be saying you're
And my
fired.
friend Matt Eisman's going to be on there, so that's cool. That's from one of the
Oh,
hosts
no way,
of
amazing.
one of the hosts of American Ninja Warrior. Yeah.
Oh, how cool!
Yay.
He's going to be competing.
Go. Yeah, I had him here. I interviewed him, and he couldn't tell me if he won or not because he
Okay,
can't
right.
say,
Yeah, we can't say it. Yeah, we've
They
got to
can't
watch the
reveal it
series.
yet,
But
so I'm
how
looking forward to
cool!
that.
Yeah. So
That's
sorry
gonna be very
to
cool.
deviate from Marcus and his team for a minute.
That's all right.
but,
I mean,
but
we
thought
have
that was cool.
also they have the new show that came up that they just started, and Marcus was he was kind of giving them the
Which one's that?
$1 billion buyer.
$1 billion buyer. Yes.
Fertitta. I don't know his first name. I got to figure out his first name.
Fertitta?
Fertitta Fertata, one of the Fertitta brothers. So they own like half of Vegas.
Okay.
And so that comes up every night after the
After
profit.
the profit.
Yeah.
That's going to be starting. I think this season opener episode was tonight.
It was last week,
Oh,
I think,
okay.
and apparently what they do, and they might have done a season before that wasn't real publicized or something.
Okay. Interesting,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not real sure.
But they were heavily promoting it today.
And Marcus is really helping them to promote it too,
Okay.
and they're
But
apparently.
you know, I'm so excited. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say is the way that show works is because I was wondering, $1 billion buyer, what's that mean? Well, he's a billionaire and he's doing buying for his various chains.
Okay.
And so, you can imagine if you were a supplier of toilet paper,
Right.
I've got $1 billion, I've got this
This is
huge
my-
order for you.
Right.
Can you? And
Can
then
you
people
fill it?
compete for that. And so
Very
he helps to
cool.
formulate the businesses, gives them a
Okay.
task, and then they go to work on it and he sees who am I going to buy from. So the people end up winning big contracts. And,
Big contract,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Supplying big hotel chains and whatnot. How cool.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. That's another one we have to keep an eye on then.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I really like The Profit. I think this is probably one of the best business shows that are out there. At least it's the best business show that I've seen.
And they're yeah, right.
I love Shark Tank.
There's
But
Shark Tank, there's Hatch, there's a Dragon's Den up in Canada. I don't know if you're
Dragon's
familiar with
Den,
that.
same thing as Shark
Yeah,
Tank, though.
right.
It's the same
It
premise,
is.
right?
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same show. Yeah. different name.
I think Dragon's Den started before Shark Tank, and they have it also in London as
Yeah,
well
and I
as
think in
Australia.
Japan as well.
Really?
Has a Japanese.
Well, how
Shark
could you
Tank.
not be dragons in Japan? You're not sharks, right?
Right. Exactly.
Here we're sharks.
So there
But-
you go. But you know, I'm not surprised that Marcus is helping to promote the billionaire buyer because driving through Los Angeles right now, I don't know if you've noticed, but there are massive billboards with Marcus's face on them
Really?
promoting the profit. He has done exceptionally well So good on you, Marcus.
Yeah, good. And well, I think that they've got to really build the viewership as part of the thing right now because it's a great show. I think that's the thing is they've got a great product.
Right. They
but
just need people to start
It's
watching.
not as well known as Shark Tank though.
Right.
Or it hasn't been up until now.
The Profit or
The Profit.
yeah, right.
Yeah, it hasn't. You know, the fans are loyal fans.
Right,
But the audience, the viewing audience,
It's not as
hasn't been
large.
as big as Shark Tank up
Well,
until
and
now.
the thing is too, though, don't forget, and again, in defense of the Profit, you're talking about one host trying to carry the show. Shark Tank, you've got names like Mark Cuban.
You got personalities
You've got
and stuff.
4 or 5 different, different people up there.
I hear you, but I think that Marcus is so powerful in terms of the lessons that he can deliver throughout. I mean, it's really like being a business psychologist that comes in and there's a lot more psychology involved than one would think.
Right, because he's so
Right?
much more heavily involved in these businesses.
And with the people too, because half of these issues are people issues.
Oh, well, today's episode was a testament to that.
Total people issues. Yeah, it's like working
All
through
he did
those things.
was play referee.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the weird thing in business. You never think it's going to be all come down to people issues, but it does.
Because we're people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we got products, and then we got process. You weren't here last week, were you?
No.
I loved. He was coaching last week. He was coaching a guy a guy that was introduced by a stand-up comedian, and he was coaching him in this food business. In the end, the guy has to come out and do a sales pitch to get his food items into stores, and the guy says, "I believe in 3 things: people, process, and product." He was obviously from the Marcus school
That's
of
funny.
thought. But yeah, no, I really like what Marcus is doing. I'm glad that we're going to get a 5th season, and I'm looking forward to. See, I think that there's so many different directions that Marcus can go from this. I don't think that. So I see this as being like a stepping stone on a path to something much bigger. You know, with this conglomerate, this collection of businesses that he's been collecting that we've talked about, and with the. Look at how many people have done shows in the Dr. Phil vein, or the shows that do life turnarounds and that type of thing. But this is a business turnaround, and
Well, and the thing is, too, you see the incredible opportunity for any of the people involved in this, because at one point, he brought in a fashion director, the fashion director of all of his fashion
used
brands.
to work for Courage Bee.
And she used to work for Courage Bee, which was just one of the small boutiques he had gone in a few years ago to help save.
And now she's moved
And
up.
now she has moved all the way up through the ranks to be one of his top directors in this conglomerate of companies. And so if you're good, and I think that's part of what Marcus is able to do, is identify talent.
Yeah. And then encourage them, grow them. So a lot of
Right,
opportunity.
develop, yes.
And it's good to see a guy who operates from a fair perspective.
Yeah. He's
you
a
know,
good guy. And now he's dressing well.
You
love
look
you,
good,
Marcus.
You look
You really
good.
did look good.
I think you're ready for an appearance on AFTERBUZZ TV. I think
Again, we're going to extend the invitation out. We would love to have
we might
you
not have been ready
on
before.
the show.
Maybe we weren't ready for you,
Maybe
and you weren't
we
ready
weren't
for
stylish
us.
enough. I've got my cute little dress on today, though. I've tried to bring
He knows
it to
I'm
a fashion
kidding, right?
episode. That's right.
Yes, she's got this beautiful dress on. We'd love to have you on. And if you want to, we'll do a special interview with you here, just you, in between seasons to build up for the next season.
Oh,
There you go. That could be good. I think with that, we never gave our call signs here. So where can people find you? Where can they reach out to
well,
you?
you can call me Maverick.
You can call me.
You can call me anytime.
Listen.
Woohoo.
You talking to Marcus still? Look at this. I'm telling you, she's single.
You can catch me, gab with me anytime outside of AfterBuzz TV via my website, globalgab.com. That's global-gab.com. I come to you with top trending international issues and analysis. You can also hit me up anytime via my Twitter and Instagram handles at Katerina Cozias.
Yeah, all those global issues, it's all Greek to me.
It's all Greek to me.
She's Greek. Get it?
There you go.
Okay. I'm Chris Howard. Reach out to me at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram. Also, go to Legendary Living Daily right now, legendarylivingdaily.com, and download that. You get daily tips, inspiration, motivation, business building stuff. It's
Really
a lot
good
of fun.
stuff. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I get inspired and motivated by it.
Wow.
I do.
If you do, it's a good thing. That's what it's meant for. And then go to legendarylivingtv.com for YouTube. Also, go over to iTunes. Give us 5 stars on iTunes. Grab it. You can get the whole collection of shows that we've done here.
And if you did watch today's episode, let us know what your thoughts were. Hit us up and let us know if
Put a
you
bunch of stars
are
on there.
excited for Susana Monaco. I wish her all the best.
Yes.
really do.
Good work and an incredible episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it now. And with that, we'll see you later.
We're out.
Ciao.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.